Well, the first COVID-19 vaccinations will be rolled out here in Australia today. And among those receiving the jab is Prime Minister Scott Morrison. In fact, you can watch him get his jab at 11 o'clock here right on Sky. There you go. Well, we often talk about the long march through the institutions. Well, it looks like they've now marched right on up into the Governor-General's office. We learnt this week that the Governor-General's staff will be told to do a bizarre privilege walk and answer questions about their race, religion and education in order to stamp out unconscious bias. Joining us now is Outsider's favourite, Bella Debrera from the Institute of Public Affairs, and I do urge you to visit the IPA's website, ipa.org.au. Bella, great to see you. I thought we paid the Governor-General to uphold our constitutional monarchy, not to organise privilege walks.
Oh no, look, privilege walks are much more important these days in any institution that you'll find in Australia. So this is just, I don't know if you know much about the privilege walk. It comes from the 1980s. It was invented by this very sort of activist feminist Peggy McIntosh, and she invented this crazy. I actually prefer to call it the walk of shame, because it basically involves you have to stand in a row in a horizontal line. You have to close your eyes, and then you have to answer a series of questions. And depending on your answer, you have to either step forward or backwards. And it's this kind of crazy pseudo-religious experience where you really are playing the penitent, being humbled and being shamed for your sins in public. But the problem with this one is, because there's no retribution, there's no redemption, there's no solution. You just have to acknowledge that you're privileged.
Rita.
And so what sort of questions have you stepping forward, and which ones have you stepping back? What does the exercise illuminate? So
the stepping forward questions, weirdly, are largely based around, because it's American, it talks about, have you gone to college? Have your parents gone to college? Have you ever been accepted to do a degree in something? It's this kind of, it's trying to say, have you been educated? So if you've been educated, you're pretty much going to step forward. It also asks if your parents have ever told you that they love you. Have your parents ever told you that they're proud of you? But if you are asked a question about have you ever felt that you were discriminated against because of your colour, you take a step back. You know, have you ever not been to college? You take a step back. So it's this. It never asks anything like, you know, how motivated are you? Do you get up and exercise in the morning? It's not about self-determination. It's all about this idea of playing the victim and whether, you know, external circumstances have conspired against you. And of course, this whole unconscious bias thing is complete fiction. So not only are we humiliating the staff, the employees in this office, but you're also getting them to do something that doesn't even exist. There is no such thing as white privilege, and there's no such thing as unconscious bias.
James.
So if I got this straight, Bella, basically the idea is here, and it's appropriate, it's a Sunday morning, because you mentioned that it is pseudo-religious, that this is basically to divide everybody, to divide a workplace, to divide the staff and the group there into people who will be seen after the exercise as oppressors and those who are victims. That doesn't sound like a great recipe for workplace harmony to me.
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. And, you know, I wonder if the Governor-General will be partaking in this privilege walk himself. It'll be very interesting to see how many steps forward he takes and how many steps backwards he takes. But as you say, it's extremely divisive. And how are you meant to function as an office if suddenly you're being pitted against your colleague because they are presumably more privileged than you are? And what does that mean? Then you have to ask for a pay rise, or you have to say that, you know, I need special help working my way up in the ladder. It's totally crazy, and it's totally divisive. You know, and
but
45
Bella,
years ago.
Bella, it's also deeply sinister because we've seen in the past Martin Parkinson introduced this rubbish into the public service. And what it ultimately boils down to, and the idea of unconscious bias, is that you don't know that you have these prejudices. So in order to overcome the prejudices you didn't know you had, you have to build in new prejudices, in other words, positive prejudices against people you thought you had negative prejudices against. As you say, it's all garbage, but it ends up resulting in white males being not chosen for the job even when they are the most qualified or the best person for the job. So you're actually, by definition, you are downgrading the quality of people in the public service, and by definition, you're downgrading the quality of people in the Governor-General's office, correct?
Correct. And, you know, this is radical race theory, and it's critical race theory, and it's all this madness that's come out of universities that Professor Saad was talking about earlier. And it's really worrying that this Marxism has now found its way into the highest institution in our country. And it's really evidence that there is no institution in this country now that is free of identity politics and this Marxism, and we need to be concerned, and we need to be calling it out.
And it's public and private institutions, as you point out. And we've just learned that Coca-Cola has again been another big company that's embraced critical race theory. They're telling their employees to be less white. Now, surely that sort of racism comes with some sort of consequences in the workplace. Can you imagine telling any other colour or creed to be less of something that they have no control over?
Oh, look, it's totally racist, and this is what gets me. These people are willingly participating in a racist and humiliating exercise. And as you say, if you're told to be less white, how are you meant to behave? How do you be less white? I mean, well, according to Coca-Cola, you have to be sort of less aggressive, because apparently, you know, white people are more aggressive than minorities, and so you have to change your behaviour. You have to basically be very different in your very being, and this is impossible.
Well, you couldn't get less white than the product itself that they're selling at Coca-Cola, whichever way it works. Surely people have to fight back against this garbage. Bella, how do they fight back against it? I mean, do you stop drinking Coke? Is that the way you do it? What do you do?
Well, I mean, I don't drink Coke anyway because it rots your teeth. But yes, I think. I mean, do you do what the left does, and if you don't like the product, you stop buying it, or this is the question. Perhaps people should stop buying Coke and just hit them where it hurts. You know, the go woke, go broke old adage is quite true. We've seen it a number of times. But look, I think 45 years ago, when it came to the Governor-General's office, all we had to be worried about was whether he was going to sack a Prime Minister for being incompetent. Now we have to worry about whether he's going to sack a Prime Minister for being too white.
Yes, exactly. James?
Well, I just want to go back to this whole thing, though, about this privilege, because I've often thought that this privilege stands in for kind of an original sin in a society that's lost its old Christian roots, but it's the same sort of idea. Can you imagine, though, what would be the reaction? I mean, it's pretty racist if they say that the qualities that white people have are A, B, C, and D. Could you imagine if they had said, you know, you need to be less Jewish, or you need to be less black, or you need to be whatever? Why aren't people just seeing this for what it is, which is out-and-out racism? And how does something like this wind up getting the tick from the office of the Governor-General for all people? What is the thinking that allows this through the door?
Well, the thinking is that there is a large absence now of religion in our society. You know, we are in a post-Christian society. We're not necessarily in a secular society. People want something to believe in, and they all understand. We all understand that there is this concept of the fallen state, our fallen state, and they're grabbing onto this identity politics as a replacement for religion, as a replacement for Christianity. But as I said earlier, it's Christianity, but a very warped version of it, and it's Christianity without any of the amelioration or the benefits that you get from belief in the Christian values. You get, all you're left is with the idea of sin, but with no redemption. And this is why people are attracted to it, I think, and they're looking for this in their lives.
Bella de Brera, thanks so much for coming on. Always great to have you on Outsiders. You do a terrific job there at the IPA, the Institute of Public Affairs, ipa.org.au, as I said before. Thanks, Bella. We'll see you soon.